The Klan held a rally in Cullman last night. It seized the opportunity to recruit new members because the trial has caused racial division. Earlier this week, blacks marched on Cullman. They were protesting the trial being moved to this virtually all-white county. There were arrests. The defendant, Tommy Lee Hines, is a mentally retarded black man accused of raping this woman, Rosemary Harris. In court, the defense has tried to prove Hines incapable of the crime. The prosecution says it has a confession and positive identification by the victim.
Everyone back off of this street. There's been a bomb threat here. If you don't remove, we'll remove you by force.
The trial has been disrupted, and police have tried to keep peace. Weapons have been confiscated.
You're under arrest.
And agitators arrested.
Under arrest for what?
Almost everyone is talking about the trial in Cullman because it is having an uneasy effect on the people who live here. They resent the outsiders, whom residents say are trying to turn Cullman into a racial battleground. Business has suffered because people are afraid to come downtown. Those who do say the trial has created a racial atmosphere that did not exist.
It's causing all kind of problems. I mean, they're trying to stir hatred up in the community. Nobody really thinks that the man's any doubt but whether he'll get a fair trial, but it's the chaos and the confusion that these outside agitators is causing.
Almost all the blacks in the county live in an isolated community about 15 miles outside of town. Most have lived here all their lives and haven't complained about how they are treated by whites. But now, some say the trial may change that.
It might not, you know what I mean, it might not bother us grown people, but you think of these little fellas coming on up like that. That's what's going to hurt. And they go to school with the whites, you see.
But most people believe Hines will get a fair trial and the town will get back to normal if all the outside agitators go away. Bob Jimenez, NBC News, Cullman, Alabama.
As you know, we have made this request to President Carter before, and I have had some correspondence from the White House regarding this, and they attempted to explain to me Mrs. Harris was all right and she wasn't that bad, but we know the things that she has done as relates to her office and her position as Secretary of HUD. And one of those, the reason that we made that request is this, is that last year Patricia Harris funded all of the institutions in the state of Alabama, schools and colleges and universities for dormitories except the black schools in this state. She has done the same thing again. And as a result, I have asked President Carter to dismiss her as Secretary of HUD. She gave $1.4 million to the University of Montevallo. She gave $2.1 million to the University of Alabama in Huntsville. Alabama A&M requested $1.4 million. She denied that. Alabama State requested $1.3 million. She denied that. Now, it is not right for her to take the money from HUD and give it to all the white schools in this state and not give any to the black schools. And so, therefore, I requested President Carter to fire her and appoint another black.
Airport Director Ken Muse says so far they've made no changes in any procedures at Danley Field. According to Muse, the procedures used at San Diego's airport, where over 150 people were killed, and those used at Danley are very different.
Well, the possibility it could happen anywhere if you had radio failure. But what happened in San Diego, and what I can understand, is that the FAA and the tower people at Lindbergh Field in San Diego allowed what we call simultaneous approaches to the same runway, because they only had instrument landing system on one runway and the airline traffic was landing on the other runway. Here we have instrument landing systems on both ends of the runway, of our 9,000-foot instrument runway, so there would never be any time that we would ever have to have aircraft approaching each other on this runway. They would all be going in the same direction.
Of course, part of the problem with the San Diego tragedy was that the plane crashed into a heavily populated residential area. How are the approaches situated here at Danley, and what's the growth plan expectations for the next 10 years, say, as far as how built up it will be around Danley Field?
We're lucky here in Montgomery. We have very good zoning ordinance laws. The zoning people are very strict as to what they will approve in the vicinity of the airport. As you'll notice, in close proximity, with the exception of the one housing area off of the short runway here, everything that we have in this area is industrial.
Danley Field's last fatality occurred in October of 1972. That involved a light twin-engine plane and its pilot attempting to make a takeoff in the fog. In fact, most officials we talked to here today with the airport agree that this has always been a safe one. Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News.
Well, the first one, the majority of the heating systems in Montgomery today, I would imagine, would be gas appliance forced air heating systems. Prior to turning them on and using them for this winter, they should first check the filters to make sure that they're clean, and if they need cleaning, replace them, and then check around the appliances to make sure that nothing has been stored over the winter months or the summer months that could possibly catch on fire. Check your vents to see if there's any leaks developing in those and through the roof. And of course, then light the appliance and observe it real closely for the first half a day to make sure it's functioning properly.
Should they be surprised at the odor of perhaps like dust or anything?
Yes, in the beginning you'll probably get a slight odor, and that's nothing to be alarmed about, more especially in newer homes. And if they bought a new home in the past few months, then they definitely will get an odor for the first day or two.
With the popularity of fireplaces and the season for them here, what are the procedures that viewers should take prior to starting a fire in their fireplace?
They need to make sure that the dampers are open and in working order up in the chimney. And of course, check the chimney visibly on the outside and the top to make sure that no cracks or something has fell across the top of the chimney to where the draft will be properly. And of course, inside check, make sure that all the fire bricks are in place.
The budget was the most controversial item discussed at today's Youth Services Board meeting. The department's director said that although the new budget was higher than last year's, the department would have less total money to spend because some federal funding wasn't extended for this year. As a result, Birmingham's day treatment program will be discontinued in November.
This decision on my part to make the recommendation was based solely on the availability of funds. When we took all of the departmental programs and we established our priorities, the money was just not there to continue funding this particular program. I am making the recommendation because we have increased commitments to the department. We have more young people coming in contact with the juvenile court, and those that are committed to the custody of the state, we must be able to provide 24-hour-a-day care for them. Therefore, I made this decision and this recommendation.
A few concerned parents and students protested the closing of the program, and the former director who set up the Birmingham Treatment Center says the program will turn youth from a preventive program into institutional ones.
Day treatment is designed to deal with the problems in the community, to work with the family, help the family deal with their own problems, to tie the kid into the community resources, and deal with the problems in the community where they are.
So what do you think will happen to the kids that are affected by this program?
Well, the kids who are in the program now, I would expect that probably about 70% of them will end up in an institution.
Department officials say their main problem, as with so many other state agencies, is one of funding, and they say they'll appeal to the legislature to correct that problem. Glenda Webb, WSFA TV News.
Founded in 1854 as the Tuskegee Female College, the campus moved to its present site in 1909 and in 1935 was renamed Huntington in honor of the 9th Lady of Huntington of 18th century fame. Mrs. John Hastings, the 14th Lady of Huntington, became the first of her lineage to visit the campus. The authorist-journalist presented a slide presentation of the college's namesake and was honored with a luncheon and later this evening with a dinner. Huntington Board of Trustees Chairman Philip Sellers, along with college president Dr. Alan Jackson, presented the Countess with an honorary degree. The Countess is in the U.S. arranging an American distribution of her latest literary work, The Magic Years of Beatrix Potter, her second biography on the creator of Peter Rabbit. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
At the request of the striking workers, Auburn president agreed to a meeting with union members earlier today, but only one union member, Tommy Williams, was present at the meeting. Rumors that strikers may try to vandalize the football stadium has prompted the university to place student volunteers around the stadium area in order to report anyone who may try to cause any damage.
As it turned out, the university's precautions were not needed when it was announced shortly after 2 o'clock that the strike had ended. Tommy Williams, chief union steward, had these comments about the settlement.
We discussed what actions would be taken against the people that did strike at the university, and we referred this back to our people at a meeting, special meeting we called, and at this time we took a secret ballot to come back to work, and it was unanimous to come back to work.
Later, Dr. Philpott explained the university's position.
I think the action this afternoon was due to two things. One is that we had sent all of the employees a mailgram day before yesterday that they had until 4:30 this afternoon to report back and seek their jobs, or that they were automatically terminated. And secondly, today we have assured them of our complete willingness to discuss and continue to work on problems that they may have. We have not made any specific commitments, but we have sincerely developed, and as we always have, a posture of trying to do the best we can for all of the people who work for Auburn.
Auburn officials stated that those workers who had been on strike would face disciplinary action. The unofficial word is that the returning workers will be placed on a 3-day suspension without pay and will be on a 6-month probationary period. In Auburn, this is Emery Stapleton, WSFA TV News.
Now, we're still formulating strategy on the extradition, and at this point, we will allow our Georgia lawyers that we've employed over there to decide and advise us about the best manner in which to proceed on fighting the extradition. The options, as I understand it, are fight it in Savannah and Chatham County, Georgia, or we can fight it in Fulton County, Georgia, and Atlanta, the capital city. Now, what action or course we take, we don't know at this point.
In your conversations with your client, has he indicated to you how far he will go to fight extradition?
And my client has advised me that he'll fight the extradition to the highest court in the land if necessary, and if they'll accept the appeal. He does not feel like that this indictment is brought in any way by right or on any evidence that they have. That here he was an officer helping the state of Alabama prosecute the men who are now his prosecutors. And he'll fight it all the way, as far as we can go. And that is my plan at this time. I don't see that we have any other option. And we're hopeful that we can beat this thing in the state of Georgia. We're hopeful that justice will prevail over there, and that we'll never have to go to trial over here. But at this point, of course, we don't really have any opinion about it. That's our hope.
The folks that asked me if you're going to come, is that all right? If you're going to come, if you can, because I've got a thing committed to come now. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, man. I know the demands on you have been great. She on the break, I'm on counter. So she did that too. Mr. James and the
The Macon County Grand Jury report called the facility deplorable, unfit for human habitation, and of exhibiting disease-breeding conditions. The grand jury gave the Sheriff's Department until November 1st to correct the situation. Sheriff Lucius Emerson pleads not guilty to the report.
I am against some of the allegations were made by the district attorney in the grand jury in reference to telling certain people on the grand jury, well, you all have done wrong again. You've elected the wrong man again. I think that when it comes to dealing with the matter in reference to the grand jury, I think that personal feelings should not be in it. And I've always felt that for a good number of years that there have been a lot of personal dislikes and this sort of thing by the DA, and I'm just wondering why, because I've always made every effort to work 100% with the DA, and I don't know why. It seems as if he can't work with me, and he tries to inject his personal feeling, into the grand jury. And I think that if you've been in office as long as I have, I mean, you're going to have some people who might be on the grand jury from time to time that you have arrested, and people who might not like you for one reason or another, so it's very easy to get that kind of report.
Sheriff Emerson says in his opinion the grand jury report was unjustified, that the county jail has and will continue to be maintained properly. Reporting from Tuskegee in Macon County, George Mitchell, WSFA TV News.
Because of you, I think we can safely say it's time for a new beginning in Alabama. We have but one goal, and that is to unite the state, to put behind us forever the negative prejudice of the past, to win the general election with a mandate decisively the first Tuesday in November, and I ask you at this time, let us in the morning start preparing for what will be a tough battle of the next month. But I've seen you under tough circumstances before. Tonight, we are Alabamians. Tonight, we are Democrats. And tonight, let us pledge ourselves to a new beginning that will mean a better quality of life for every man, woman, and child that lives here.
And certainly I will not go out of this campaign holding any kind of personal grudge whatsoever against anybody. And I hope that the same can be said of all the other candidates, because this is a great country, and a great state, and great people. And now that I think the people have spoken, people have shown, after they've seen the fight, we shot all we had at him, and he whipped us. I think it's incumbent on me and all of us to offer our best congratulations to Bob James and also to the other people in the primary that didn't make it to the runoff. Congratulate them on a hard campaign. And I want to pledge to them that I'll support the nominee of the Democratic Party, Mr. James, any way he wants me to in November. I pledge to him that I will do everything in my power to serve him as a loyal constituent of the state of Alabama in any way I can to help improve this state and to help him in the real tough job that he's got coming up.
Well, George, of course I'm disappointed. I'm not bitter, and I'm sad. You know, you don't run in anything to lose, and I really feel like the state, the people of the state's a real loser. As far as myself, I gained a husband in this, you know. I wouldn't have had as much time with my husband, my child, wouldn't have had his daddy around as much in the next 4 years. And I prayed about this campaign, George, and I never prayed that Bill would win. I prayed that what was best for our lives would happen, and I just have to believe that that's what has happened.
According to Dudley Perry, Walter Flowers was misrepresented by Hal Heflin during the primary. He says that members of the conservative Democrats for Martin, who will be announced in a few days, feel the Republican candidate expresses the viewpoint of the majority of Alabamians. Flowers, who lost to Heflin by over 240,000 votes last night, is expected to join the group.
We find that Judge Heflin left the people of Alabama a court management system, so-called, that is supposed to supervise the activities of the courts of all of Alabama from this building here, and to take away the autonomy of the local courts, and to vest it in a central government or a central court system, to take away more of the rights of the people in their local governments.
Perry says he voted for the implementation of the article on Heflin's representation of that piece of legislation, and he did not have time to thoroughly study its implications. Janet May, WSFA TV News.
I don't think necessarily special interest ties to the AEA was the killing factor. I think it was more being an incumbent.
Mm-hmm. You face Republican opposition come November. In an interview last night, your opposition in November said that you will have to address the issues to be elected in November. What are the issues facing the two that seek the office from District 26?
Well, I did not hear that interview, and I believe I have addressed the issues. I believe the issues are that the people want a state senator who is responsive to their needs, who's going to vote like a majority of the people in the district want him to vote on any one issue, whatever that issue might be and whatever it might come up. And I think they want a state senator who is willing to not to be a yes man for the governor, but be willing to work with the governor to accomplish some things in this district. And they want a state senator who is not going to filibuster and not going to throw a logjam in the state Senate. And I think those are the basic issues, and those are the issues I campaigned on, and I think that's one of the big reasons why I won.
The State Ethics Commission asked its legal counsel to file for clarification and reconsideration of Judge Hooper's August 31st opinion laying out public official records. Commission Chairman Leslie Wright said the commission members need to know what's allowed during an inspection of these records.
Under the ruling of August 31, we have been instructed to maintain nothing in that form nothing in that file except the form itself, and then any correspondence relation to it would have to be removed. We're a little unclear on that because we do have requests for examination of statements of economic interest. The second point on which we need clarification is the matter that was spoken to in the opinion with reference to when does an investigation begin.
Commission member George Bagley charged that Judge Hooper's ruling tells the commission what to do and how to run its business. The president of George C. Wallace Technical School and Junior College at Selma sought and was given an open hearing before the commission. A list of some 27 allegations were brought against Charles Bird by Bobby Webster, an auto mechanic instructor at the school. The allegations included the misuse of state vehicles, state employees, non-compliance of bid laws, and the purchase of personal equipment through the school. Byrd denied all allegations, clarifying some which he said were misconceptions. His attorney, Henry Pitts of Selma, asked the commission to rule as quickly as possible on its findings. Pitts said the allegations had been hanging over his client's head for 5 months and have been damaging to Byrd's health and hurting progress at the school. He said Fletcher has refused to appear before the commission to back his allegations against the school president. George Mitchell, WSFA TV News.
Tomorrow's public hearing was requested by the Associated Milk Producers of Alabama. After the public hearing this past summer, a price increase went into effect. Tomorrow's hearing will gather evidence to determine if another price increase is warranted. And though the Dairy Commission predicts that most of those testifying at tomorrow's hearing will be dairy producers, the public also may present evidence as to why the price of milk should not increase.
If any interested party wishes to come forth and present testimony at the hearing, the Commission would be most happy to hear their testimony and to take it under advisement as well.
Are these types of public hearings then generally just a preliminary to raising milk prices?
No, they're not preliminary to raising milk prices. Milk prices cannot change one way or the other without a public hearing according to the Alabama law.
At a meeting of the Dairy Commission today, McMillan Lane said tomorrow's hearing was not set up according to Commission rules, but he said he wouldn't contest the hearing. Do you think this price hearing is necessary now?
I won't know until after you hear the testimony tomorrow, but it is coming mighty soon after the one we held in June.
Nevertheless, tomorrow's public hearing on milk prices will be held as scheduled tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the Richard Beard Building. Glenda Webb, WSFA TV News.
I wasn't all that big playing nose guard, and I was being double teamed a lot last year, and it just kind of, I was injured all year last year.
Defensive end, it's basic. You just get down there and you're nose to nose with a tight end, and it's just play ball. Defense is not as controlled as offense is as far as snap count and having to worry about all that. All you have to worry about is hitting your man and getting off.
Well, the reckless game, you got to let loose.
Don't have to worry about the count, huh? When somebody moves, you
just
move.
Go on the ball, yeah. If anybody else move with them.
Do you like it better?
Yeah.
One thing about it, you have to learn so many plays. You know, they're very difficult on defense. That's basically it.
I like a lot more contact. You know, you get a lot more contact on defense, and I think it's a little bit more fun.
How about the mental side of it? Are you thinking as much about what you're supposed to do and that sort of thing on defense as you were on offense?
I believe it is. It might be a little bit more thinking because you know you have so many rules to follow and you have so many men to watch. You know.
It doesn't make any difference whether you own nothing but an automobile. You can still save money. On your privately owned automobile and pickup, you'll save 40%. On your home, your farm, and your timberland, you'll save 33 1/3%. If you own a business, you'll save 20%. Now, the reason you're going to save money is because the percentage rate is less in those cases that I told you about over what it is now. In addition to this, your property will not be appraised at the fair market value, but it will be appraised at its use value for your home, your farm, and your timberland. And this is going to save you some more tax dollars.
The deadline for buying car and truck tags is November 15th. Despite that distant deadline, lines were forming this morning at the county courthouse. Tax assessor Marvin Driver says this year's process has been somewhat simplified.
This is the first year we mail out the whole notice, and you just bring the whole notice in or either mail it in. And if you come into the office, you need to bring 2 checks to purchase a tag in the office. And if you mail it in, you still have till November the 1st to mail in. You can just mail 1 check in.
If you lived in the county last year, just bring the tag renewal notice mailed to you. If you're moving in from an outside county, bring in last year's registration form from wherever you came from. Once there, you'll have 2 checks to make out, one to the tax collector for the amount of tax due on your car or truck, the other to the Office of Probate for the little sticker which you'll attach to your present car or truck tag. With it early in the season, officials say it shouldn't take too long to go through the whole process. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
Mediation period, it will of course have to be submitted to the various union memberships for ratification. If agreement is not reached on the issues in question, then the individual appointed will decide the remaining unresolved issues within 15 days of the date the mediation commences. It was important to avoid unnecessary confrontation. It was important to comply with the laws of the land and to have a final resolution of this dispute without an interruption of a vital national service.
But Mo Biller, who is a local New York official of one of the postal unions, interviewed by Tom Brokaw earlier in this hour of the Today program, indicated that this is forced binding arbitration on the part of the government. He also indicated that labor troubles and problems for the Postal Service have not ended. The agreement announced 8 hours before the midnight strike deadline yesterday set by one union, the 180,000-member Letter Carriers Association. Pope John Paul now eliminating even more ceremony from the start of his pontificate. The Vatican says this morning that the Pope has decided to forego his enthronement as well as his coronation next Sunday, and instead the Pope will celebrate a Mass in St. Peter's Square. In Nicaragua this morning, dictator Anastasio Somoza fighting to stay in power. He has put his army on alert after surviving an attempted coup by army officers and civilians. Spokesmen say Somoza is now moving to break the anti-government general strike that began yesterday. But NBC correspondent Fred Francis reports from Managua that Somoza is just barely in control of his country, and the situation in Nicaragua is approaching civil war. President Carter winding up his western vacation, spending his last day fishing in Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park. The president returns to Washington tomorrow, cutting 2 days off his vacation to allow time to lobby in the Congress for at least a part of his energy program.